Hello everyone, nubkeks here. Welcome back to Nub Raids. Today we're catching up some news. I talked about it a bit in my Soulstone pull video. You can check that out as well if you want. I think there's going to be 3, maybe 4 videos today. I don't know. It's looking a bit mad. But I just want to cover the Victorious Titan event in this video, which has gone live in the game. So I wasn't able to do the news on this yesterday, but very quickly, there's going to be a Victorious Titan event with Pelops the Victor's Perfect Soul. We'll look at the actual event and the rewards now in a second and talk about whether or not it's worth it. But I think what is interesting here, 890 points from the 17th of March to the 24th, then 860 from the 25th to the 2nd. Now, I was looking at the event calendar, which is on Plarium Play, just their whatever launcher on the PC. We can see actually quite a few events. So we are here right now on the 17th. We've got Champion Training, which starts in game in just a minute, I think. So we can 4 minutes. Yeah, we'll check it out at some point in the video. But yeah, we can see other stuff that's coming in. Right, there's gonna be Ice Golem Tournament, Classic Arena, Gear Enhancement, Gear Hunters, Fire Knight Turn Attack. We're gonna have a Dragon Turn Attack, another Gear Enhancement, and then there's a bunch of events we can't see. Now, the one event I didn't mention so far is the Champion Chase Tournament, which is coming up with 300 anniversary points at the weekend. So that is the first summon event which is coming in. But if we look at the dates, basically the 17th, which is today, St. Patrick's Day, so Tuesday, to the 24th of March, that goes until next Tuesday. So those 890 points will include all the stuff on the calendar, but the big chunk of points from that is 300 from Champion Chase at the weekend. Then we have from the 25th of March, which is the following Wednesday, until the 2nd of April. And that's kind of spicy. That is quite spicy. The 2nd of April is a Thursday. It's a Thursday. Okay. Huh. Now, and that one is going to have 860 anniversary points. So I'd be expecting some sort of summon event on that weekend, the end of March weekend, some sort of summoning event, summon rush type event for the Champion Chase. It might be a normal summon rush. It might be a hero's path. We've got Pelops the Victor. His soul is in here. The big one for me is Edward. We have not had a guaranteed event for Edward. Now, he goes away on the 8th of April. And that's why I said it's very interesting that this ends on the 2nd of April. Certainly, there could be a hero's path for Edward that could give anniversary points. That could be part of this. Equally, though, there could be a summon rush for this Titan event, and then we still got a few days. They could slap in at the very end an Assassin's Hero's Path or something right at the end before this ends in April. Last chance to get Edward, or maybe they throw a bunch of Assassins up for some sort of 10x or 15x events. Go last chance to get the Assassins. I don't know. I'd certainly be expecting something. I'd be surprised if they didn't do a guaranteed event for Edward. But yeah, that's sort of where we're at. Will he come as part of this Titan event or won't he? I don't know. Let's talk, though, is the Titan event worth doing? We can see the rewards here. And I should also mention, before we do that, actually, sorry, of course, there are 1,750 Titan points. You need 1,500. So if there's 300 in the Champion Chase this weekend, you cannot skip them. You can't skip the 300 from Champion Chase and still complete this Titan event. And let's say you grab 50 from the Champion Chase this weekend. You've skipped 250 then from that Champion Chase. You can't skip anything else. You'd have to maximize everything. So it does become fairly difficult to do this. You could go into Champion Chase, get 50, skip 250, hoping that the summon rush is something you'd want to be doing anyway. But equally, you might skip a Champion Chase, which would be probably the easier event, and then find yourself going, oh, slightly awkward. I've done the Champion Chase, but yeah, or yeah, you could do the Champion Chase and then hope to skip the summon rush, but it might be a good summon rush. We've just had a Champion Chase as well for all 3 shard types, the main ones, Ancients, Voids, and Sacreds. Seeing as it's part of the anniversary, I wouldn't be entirely shocked, guys, if they do a 2x Primal Shards this weekend. I wouldn't be too surprised, because we've just come out of a... Right, haven't we? We've just come out of a champion chase. They're doing back-to-back champion chase, which is quite unusual. Yeah, it's not normal by any means. It's normally champ chase, summon rush, and then they replace typically a summon rush with a hero's path or something like that. Often outside of fusions, but it's very unusual to do champion chases back to back. And what this is going to do now is it's going to flip how summon events are interacting with certain things, such as fusions. Prisms is another big one. So, for example, this summon pool. I think I've pulled my summons. I summoned my one for free. I got some epic because I was going, well, the champion... I think actually I pulled them during the champion chase at the weekend, so it was fine. But we were in a position where these weren't particularly lining up with champion chases. Maybe they have lined back up and now they're going to miss a line again. I don't know. But it's always worth paying attention to when these summon events are flipping like this in a weird way, because stuff could go a bit odd. Yeah, it's a bit hard to predict what's going to happen at the moment because it's their anniversary. They're making it unpredictable, which is obviously part of their plan. They don't want to be predictable because they don't want people to be planning how they're using resources too well. They want you to be impulse pulling a good bit, right? Because then you're more likely to spend money, which is it's their strategy. It's the way it is. If you haven't realized that by now, welcome to Raid Shadow Legends. It's good to have you finally with us. Where was I? I think I was talking about this. I just think this is quite an interesting event overall, but Milestone 1 should be quite easy to get for a 1-star Pelops Soul. At Milestone 2, there's some alright rewards. You get Howling Guardians. We'll talk about the 2 relics. Milestone 3 is his 3-star Soul. There's some alright rewards here along the way. Nothing too special, just some nice stuff. Now, Milestone 4, you're getting a little bit stronger on the rewards, stuff that's a bit more substantial, and a Thunderbolt Spear. And then at 5, you're getting some very nice rewards, and you're getting his 5-star Soul. So, yeah, but it obviously gets far more difficult the further along you go. Let's talk about his Soul first. What Soul does Pelops want? To be honest, I actually think he's a champion you can get away with a very budget Soul. He's also a champion you could get away with not booking as well, to be fair. He's an interesting champ because he is a champion who can be used for utility, but who can also be built for damage. Let's talk about the difficult one first. Building him for damage, very tricky. He still will need accuracy often to land his stuff. A lot of his stuff is non-resistible if the target is under burn, so his decreased attack can't be resisted if the target's under burn or whatever. But typically you're going to want to be building him with accuracy so that he can actually be placing the debuffs with his passive. So he's going to need some accuracy, and he obviously wants some speed. He's going to want some HP to make his magma shield stronger. But yeah, then he's going to need crit rate, crit damage, lots of it to hit hard, particularly with his A2s. A2 is where most of the damage comes from. I think it's fairly niche that you're going to do that. I think building a super high damage Pelops is probably more of a gimmick than something that's actually genuinely useful to you compared to other options on your account. For most people, anyways, my impression. That being said, I do think that the Soul, a 5-star, has some decent value. The damage stats can certainly be used, right? You can build this champion mostly as a support, but give him 100% crit rate, give him a crit damage necklace, and he will do some respectable damage. If you get him a Soul with some crit damage at 4-star, that's going to help quite a bit, and he'll do some more respectable damage. It's not really essential, though. It's just a nice perk that you'll notice, but isn't a massive deal. You can alternatively build him as a pure support. Bit weird because his A2 becomes fairly useless. It doesn't really do any damage. Like, all this ignore defense becomes a non-thing. But he's giving you some nice buffs, a nice passive there. He's got a lovely passive putting out some debuffs. He's got a decreased attack A1. He's a solid. He's got the 2-turn stun on his A2. He's a solid enough little champion for utility, for wave-based content and some bosses and progression and things like that. Quite easy to build him for utility. And if you're building him for utility, like, sure, accuracy at 5-star, speed at 6-star, those things are nice, but you really don't need them. You can easily achieve his goals without those. So yeah, I actually think you can get away with just a 1-star Soul for this champion is mostly enough, and that's easy to get. You should get it basically for free from this Titan event, from very little effort. You'll happen to do a classic arena event by accident or something, and there you are. You've maybe do a gear enhancement and you're done, right? It should be very simple, and it's going to give him a lot of his value. It's going to give him the HP, which is going to make his shield a bit better. It makes him more survivable, and you're good. I think pushing a 2-star soul is basically useless. I think a 3-star soul is also quite nice. The defense is quite good value because you're going to be building this champ with a lot of HP. That defense is going to give you some quite, it's tangible, effective HP. It's going to make his health last longer, and that's quite good because he is putting up a taunt buff. He's going to be taking quite a few hits. So I think a 3-star soul is also quite decent on this champion. Obviously, defense not as good in PvP because champions run with so much ignore defense, but most enemies in PvE don't have that much. So yeah, I think a 3-star soul is quite good. And as I said, if you happen to pick up you could perhaps even purchase a 4-star soul for him if you wanted from the soul merchant at some point. Not a high priority at all, but you could do it and it'll be okay. Now that 5-star soul that's in here is nice. It's obviously making his blessing stronger, quite a bit stronger, so that's good. You're probably, I feel like, running this champion with Brimstone. If you are going to use him in Chimera, that might be the nicest benefit. Let's grab a legendary Ezio, perfect. If you're going to run him in Chimera, going from a 30% chance of a smite to a 60% and having it being protected is nice. Also for bosses who can remove debuffs, several Grim Forest bosses can remove debuffs. The Sand Devil can remove debuffs. Having Smite be protected, quite nice for that, but it just makes it more consistent. So that is decent. It is decent, but you do obviously get a steady stream of 5-star good champions as login champions these days as well. So you might not need it. I would say that would be the big thing for me. If you are going to use them in Chimera, that would be quite decent. Alternatively, in a Titus team, let's say you've already got someone with a good level of Brimstone, you could give him Cruelty Blessing. That's going to give you a decent damage boost as well. So if you have the resources to do this and you are going to use them in your Chimera team, it's okay. I say it's only okay because I think a Volcardiac Heart Relic is the better option. And I think if you've got the resources to complete this Titan event, you probably have a decent chance of picking up a Volcardiac Heart Relic at some point to put on your Titus team. So I think that, Pelops, he is good for a Titus team, but he's more of a budget option. So it's difficult for me to fully endorse this. I think there is value in the 5-star. It might certainly be worth going for, but it's not a must-get by any means. I think you can grab the 1 or the 3-star and get a lot of the value out of this champion, to be honest. Yeah, I think you can. And I think he'll do a great job in Faction Wars with just 1 or 3-star. The 5-star is a bit more of a luxury pick. It will certainly help you more in Faction Wars, help you in Chimera, but it's not a must-get. Definitely not compared to other champions. The most important ones for me would be champions like Fabian, where you get the 5-star and then you can buy the 6-star because the speed from the 6-star and having their blessing be so important is really, really impactful in PvP, basically. So yeah, or Crushing Rend on a damage dealer 6-star is absolutely overpowered for PvE content as well. So you've got really, honestly, very, very bad balancing with the blessings in general in both PvE and PvP, which again are just sort of incentivizing spending money, really. It's what it mostly is, in my opinion, at least. I don't know. It could be more complicated than that, but I'm feeling cynical today, so that's what we're going with. The relics, are they good? They're all right. They're both decent, but they're not must-haves, would be my take on this. I do like the epic one. The Howling Guardians is kind of cool. It's one of the only relics that helps you benefit the rest of your team. It decreases the damage your most injured ally receives from bosses by 5%. That actually scales up pretty well with levels. It's more weighted towards level 5 and 6, but not to a degree where it's too obnoxious. Again, there's several relics which really sometimes half their value Here's a good one. Torch of Thraldom. You get 0.5, 0.5, 0.5, 0.5. At level 6 is 1.5, right? Level 6 is equal to level 2, 3, and 4 combined. It's just a bit stupid. Yeah, it's just dumb. This one is similar issue. It's more weighted towards the top, but it's nowhere near as bad, obviously. But yeah, it's a decent relic, actually. It's one of the okay epic ones. It's one of the only ones that does this. There's very few relics that actually help you benefit someone on your team. I think it's quite a decent one for PvE, mostly, for trying to keep a damage dealer alive. Like, let's say you're going, man, it's tough to keep Ninja alive in these boss fights or whatever, and when he dies, it's really awkward. I mean, hell, you can redirect quite a bit of damage, and usually your damage dealer will be the most injured. I think it's quite nifty to slap this on a tanky champion. There tend to be not that many great relics for tanky champions in PvE. You typically just end up slapping Perch Shadow if you're lucky enough to have him slap it on everybody, and it'll be grand. I think it's an interesting alternative, so I like it as an epic relic. Is it a must-have? No, but it's nice. If you haven't picked one up, it is a decent one to get, and I think it's not hard to get in this Titan event either. You don't need this, but it's kind of unique, and it's kind of cool, so I do like it. The Thunderbolt Spear is also quite solid, to be honest. It's very, very similar to the Essence Quencher. The Essence Quencher, I'd say, is a little bit better. It's going to give you basically guaranteed small damage boost equal to 20% of the target's current turn meter. But it can't be increased by, again, it steadily increases. It's a good relic. It's a very solid damage relic. Thunderbolt Spear is very similar. You're getting basically the same gem slots, almost the exact same stats. I think it's defense instead of HP, but it doesn't really matter much. This is giving you a very substantial damage boost, but only to enemies under shields. So this one is quite cool for Arena, but it's not as generally good as the Essence Quencher. But they're fairly similar. Essence Quencher, I'd say, is better for PvE. I think Essence Quencher is slightly better in general. I think Thunderbolt Spear is an interesting alternative for PvP. It can be quite decent. This would be a really nice one for White King Narses, for example. And champions who ignore shields, I think you probably get a damage bonus, and that's helping you if you are ignoring shields, like Narses who ignore shields. I think it will still work and actually be really, really juicy for him. So it's cool. It's a fine relic. It's not a must-have. I think you could easily replace it with Essence Quencher, though. It's also a relatively difficult relic to get. But also, any sort of damage relic, there's many options, but it's a good generic option, a bit more leaning towards PvP because shields are more common there. But it's a solid damage relic with solid damage slots. So, yeah, it's fine. It's not a must-get, but it's good. You might well use it. You probably find a champion to put it on, and it's quite decent. So, yeah, that's sort of my take on this Titan event. It's quite decent. I think each of the milestone rewards is fairly nice in their own way. The big question is, do you want to invest super heavily in the 5-star? Do you want to invest moderately high towards getting the 4-star? Or do you want to take it easy? I think certainly get at least the 2-star for the milestone 2. There's little reason not to get milestone 2 and get a copy of Howling Guardians if you're missing one. And the 1-star Pelops soul is lovely. This is assuming you did the fusion and you've got him. And then I think getting the 3-star soul shouldn't be too difficult either, and it's decent. If you don't get it, though, it's not the end of the world, would be my thoughts on it. And that's this Titan event. I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to do. I guess I will just max out the regular events, which would get me at least milestone 4, and then I will decide, do I want to do the summon events when I see the summon events to get the milestone 5. It's probably what I will do. Yeah, so I guess I'll be waiting to see what the summon events are. I mean, look, if it's 2x Champ Chase at the weekend, I do have 26 Primal, so I should be good to just do it. I don't know. We'll find out. Let's take a quick gander at the champion training, because this could be a little bit off-putting. I mean, 8,000 points in champ training, it is fairly substantial. To be honest, going up for a 4-star, that's quite decent. That 4-star Basalt, it's quite decent if you have the resources. That's not a bad thing. Intra-fusion for people to be sinking energy in. Champ training, I mean, it's always... Until you get endgame, champ training is extremely high value. because it's like, do you need? It's boring. That's the problem. Time consuming and boring. But it's like, do you have champions that you need to level up for Faction Wars or Cursed City or Grim Forest? Like, yep, okay, then it's super high value for you. But yeah, so there we go. Right, that's it. Give me your thoughts on this. Are you going for this Titan event? As I said, for me, I'm gonna probably do it because why not? But I think it's decent rewards, but certainly not a must do. Yeah, certainly not a must do, but it's decent. That's my thoughts. We'll see what the summon events happen to be. But yeah, be prepared. It's Champion Chase the upcoming weekend, which is weird because we just had one. We're getting another one. As I said, I am highly suspicious that it's going to be 2x primals. Highly suspicious. And yeah, I guess we'll see. So thanks. Let me know your thoughts in the comments and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.